Race 1 at the Lausitzring, and after an extremely close qualifying session, it was Lucas Auer and Sheldon van der Linde that shared the front row of the grid. The rolling start got underway, and it was a South African from the outside of row 1 that got the run into turn 1. The pole sitter dropping into second, Lucas Stoltz moving up to third place, and a good start as well from Arjun Maini, who had moved from 6th straight up to 4th place on the run down towards turn 2. Not such a good start for Maro Engel, who qualified third and only 67 thousandths of a second away from pole position. He slipped back a little bit on the run down into the first sequence of corners. Off the tri-oval they went, heading left then right through turns 2 and 3 in third gear. And this huge 29-car field filtering their way through turns 2 and 3. Not so though for Dennis Olsen in the SSR Performance Porsche. He went way out wide onto the grass, and also on the first lap Kelvin van der Linde way into the gravel trap after coming together with Michael Grenier right to the back of the field, having only managed to qualify in 18th position. Early pit stops as the window opened for Lucas Stoltz and Lucas Auer, who were running in second and third positions, and for Felipe Fraga, one of the key championship contenders. As he came out of his pit stop, Sheldon van der Linde later on was able to maintain the advantage, but a reduced margin with Lucas Stoltz much closer to him, and a big battle going on inside the top 10 positions. One driver that had hoped to get a top 6 finish was Ricardo Feller, but he suffered this right rear puncture, and that would put him out of the race. A series of retirements would come in the second half of proceedings. Nick Cassidy had led the race because he was one of the last to pit, and then the rain started to come down suddenly out of nowhere. All the cars, of course, on slick tyres. Very tricky conditions for the drivers as they're trying to judge just how much grip was left on the circuit. But the news was that the rain would pass quickly, so they would have to stay on slick tyres rather than changing to wets and having to come in for a second pit stop. Marco Wittmann was one of the last to pit, a two-time champion trying to work his way up from 16th on the grid. A BMW released, and back out onto the track he went, but not coming out of his pit stop was David Schumacher, a retirement for the Winward Mercedes. And then straight after his pit stop, problems for Marco Wittmann. A problem with the wheel during the pit stop. He would have to limp back to the pits, and another to retire from the race. So Sheldon van der Linde started to re-establish his advantage after losing a bit of ground during the pit stop window. Lucas Stoltz a clear second, and Lucas Auer keeping up the pressure, the pole sitter, but maintaining third position was all he could do. A wild ride over the curbs and over the grass for the reigning champion Maximilian Gotz. That cost him 9th place as the Ferrari of Nick Cassidy came through, the sole remaining Ferrari in the race. But a second victory in the DTM was imminent, and it was going to go the way of Sheldon van der Linde.
Oh my God, wait! We freaking did it again! Yes, baby! Oh, yes! Fucking it! Yes, babe! Yes!
The 23-year-old South African, hugely emotional. He had to wait 2 years since his maiden victory at Assen in 2020. And lots of disappointing races during the course of a tough 2021 season. A great victory then for van der Linde ahead of Stoltz and Auer, and a first ever victory in only their second weekend in DTM for Schubert Motorsport.